I'm glad to be here with you. We'll bring Michael Fanone in just a minute, but it's good to be here. How are you feeling on these 100 days?
I'm somewhat nervous. The belief is that the next 100 is going to make the first 100 look like a tea party, and every day. It's not even like tomorrow you could wake up and say, I'm going to get a day reprieve. There's going to be a nice 1 day reprieve where we're not going to have this chaos. We're not going to have the lying, the gaslighting. If you watch this morning, Caroline Levitt with Secretary Bessent, sitting there lying to the American people, just talking about nonsense. And I'm just discouraged. I mean, I want our president. Look, Don, you and I know each other a long time, very long time. And I remember times where you would be at, say, Trump Tower, and you would be engaging in conversation with Trump, or whether it would be on on your show. And I've always said, I don't care who you vote for. You really want to see the president of the United States do well. Because when the president of the United States does well, the country does well. When the country does well, that means everybody does well. That's not where we're at.
No.
This is literally a group of like 30 people. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but like the top 17 wealthiest people in this country generated over $1 trillion since Trump took office. I mean, my friends, put that number into perspective. Fucking $1 trillion?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. You could pay for a lot of the national debt. You could give everybody in this country enough money to really live on if you have that much money, right?
I think you could give everyone something like $10 million
Crazy.
per person. And by the way, that would only amount to something like $300 billion, right? Think about that. And you got $1 trillion. So in fact, you could actually give a whole lot more than that. It's nuts. I mean, it's just nuts. While people are concerned about their jobs, they're worried about getting product from China. They're worried about fighting with our maple loving cousins from the north in Canada. I mean, why is all I just keep saying? Where's the purpose behind any of this? Let me also say to everybody, since Substack is now fixed the glitch, smash those heart buttons, because what it does is it generates something with the algorithm, so more people end up joining the conversation.
I still don't believe it's working right, because our engagement is way lower than it normally is. And it was on my live.
Like at 3,000, not.
Yeah. And something's going on, but it's okay. They'll fix it and we'll get it back up. Well, and we'll, because the couple of times when I tried to invite you, by the way, it would not allow me to invite you and from the beginning when I was setting it up. Why don't let's bring in Michael Fanone. Let's see if it works this time.
Sure.
So we can talk to him about what's going on. I say the more the merrier. And then Michael, we can talk about whatever you would like to talk about. Oh, there he is.
Hey, Mike.
What's up, Mike?
How are you,
Don,
buddy?
good to see you again.
We got two Mikes and a Don.
we were talking crap about you, Michael. It was all Michael Cohen, and you should hear the stuff that he has to say about you. None of it was good. So
what bullshit? I was watching the show.
He's such a Don.
So look,
hey, Mike, how are you holding up?
I mean, getting by, I guess.
I mean, because here we are. The first 100 days of a very chaotic and a very tumultuous 100 days. And while we're sitting here and we're talking about the first 100 days, all of a sudden you have, for example, Caroline Levitt tell you it is the most productive 100 days in the history of our country. That Donald Trump has accomplished more in these 100 days than any other president. Accomplished more, for example, in terms of bringing in investment into this country to the tune of, Caroline Levitt said 5 trillion. Trump said 7 trillion. He also said 9 trillion. Let's just take somewhere in the middle, say 7 trillion. He's taken in more money than any and every other president basically combined. I mean, we should all be riding on Easy Street.
Well,
Yeah, no, I mean, I was talking earlier to Don, and yeah, I just thought, in all honesty, I can't think of a single solitary way in which my life has improved over the past 100 days. I can think of a lot of ways that it's gotten considerably worse.
Well,
I
go
mean,
ahead. Share.
we could just start with, pardoning the 7 individuals who violently assaulted me on January 6th. All of who pled guilty to violent felonies. And then, to add insult to injury, not only were these individuals pardoned, but, many of them have been invited by Republican lawmakers to share their stories and to be, put up on a pedestal and given hero status, something that, listen, a lot of people saw a lot of stories written about me and they saw like a lot of adulation and whatnot. But let me assure you, like, I do not receive hero status in my daily life.
Yeah.
I'm more apt to get spit on or screamed at than I am to have somebody extend a hand to me. And that's just the reality of my life in, Trump's America.
yeah,
And that's not even touching on like
The
you know
1,500 other that were
right,
pardoned or had their sentences commuted. It's not talking about the price of eggs or the price of
right,
gasoline or the
exactly.
price of housing, interest rates, you name it.
yeah.
Yep.
Hey, listen, Michael, can you do me a favor? Can you pan down a little bit? Is not to freak the people out. Is on your camera. Is there any way that
Which
you
Mike
can?
would be.
Michael Cohen. Sorry, not Michael
And it
Cohen.
down, or you mean up?
No, the other way. Other way. Yeah. I don't know if you can do that. There. Oh, look at that. Look at that. A little more.
I can't. It'll fall.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I don't. I don't want to make it fall. Let me just say this because I want. This is how I did. I opened up my.
John, you have that effect on people.
I know, making them fall. I just make them pass out because they go, "Oh my God, it's Don Lemon."
Don
So,
Lemon, it's the lemonade.
so listen. This is how I opened up my YouTube show this morning at 10 o'clock daily on YouTube. And I said, and you guys can respond to this. It's almost like what Michael just said. I said, "Welcome to the 100th day of the Trump presidency. Let me ask you a question. What has been Donald Trump's biggest accomplishment in the last 100 days? Is it Liberation Day? Trump's tariffs, the tariffs that have exploded inflation since the cost of goods sent the cost of goods through the roof and are about to destroy America's small business sector? Is it not ending the war in Ukraine on day one as he promised? Is it sending innocent men to forced labor camps in El Salvador? Is it ignoring a 9-0 Supreme Court decision and kicking off a constitutional crisis? Or here's what I believe his biggest accomplishment is. And Michael and I talked about it on just a couple minutes ago on our live. Is it perhaps resurrecting the Canadian Liberal Party and electing Mark Carney, who was supposed to lose his race by some 30 points prior to Trump's endless threats to take over Canada? He swung that race by 30 points,
By
and
the
I
way,
believe.
I think you missed. I think you missed a couple also.
Oh,
Some that were
I was just glossing over,
pretty
but
freaking shocking, like the deportation of American citizens who are children, including one who has stage 4
cancer.
metastatic cancer. All
Yeah,
right. I mean, at some point in time, accountability is important. If we don't live in a world where you're accountable for anything, nobody would stop at a red light. Nobody would do the speed limit. Nobody would pay for their groceries or the merchandise that they bought. You have no accountability. If you have no accountability, there's no law because law doesn't apply. That's the problem. When you take children, you're separating families again. He did this in 2017. It failed. He did the tariff bullshit with the cars and the aluminum in 2017, and it failed again. And 27 of 29 top U.S. economists said, this is stupid. It doesn't work. Tariffs don't work. We live in a global economy, that the United States is not an isolationist country. We don't manufacture shit for several reasons. One, we don't have the capability of manufacturing shit. And on top of that, Americans like to buy cheap goods. And the costs in order to employ an American at minimum wage with Social Security and FICA and, and health insurance and 401ks or whatever else, insurance like workers' comp, the price is just 4 times higher than what they're paying for the same good in China, because
Well,
they pay $1 an
Michael,
hour.
that's the reason why we don't do it here. And I heard Scott Bessent this morning in the Oval Office. By the way, let me tell you about these press briefings in the morning. Hold on, hold that thought. I'm going to hold that thought. But I heard him this morning saying, well, it was, what is it, a trade deficit. And the trade deficit is on, I don't forget how he said, our part or whatever, because they sell more to us than we sell to them. And I said, that makes no damn sense. That means we are dependent upon them to make our goods. And because it's supply and demand. So, and he said, well, they buy less from us. Yeah, because we can't make the shit. We don't know how. We don't have the resources. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the factories. We don't have the tools. And so he's lying out of, by the way, he sounds like,
he's lying.
He sounds like, what is it, Dopey, the guy who's like, oh my God.
Oh, Droopy Dog? Then all of a sudden, of course he's lying. First of all, he's talking about, and so is Caroline Levitt, how they are under Trump's administration with $7 trillion of investment coming in. And she read off the names of a couple of companies like Apple and NVIDIA and so on in AI. They turn around, they talk about how we are bringing manufacturing back to America. Like the way that you flip a light switch on and off. Do you know how long it takes to build an automobile manufacturing plant? I mean, the ones that they use now were built in the 1900s and just constantly updated. It takes somewhere between 6 to 9 years to build an automobile manufacturing plant. Trump thinks you're going into Walmart or Costco and you're going to buy an inflatable manufacturing facility, going to get a bunch of immigrants and migrants before you ship their asses off to El Salvador to blow it up. And the next thing you know, you're rocking and rolling and you're ready for business.
Yeah, like Ann says in the chat, it can take 10 years to do that. By the way, with the manufacturing, with the cars and the tariffs, we tried that. Not only in 2017, you said we tried that. I'm old enough to remember in the 1980s when we tried it with Japan, because American car manufacturers auto manufacturers were upset because people were buying so many foreign cars, and so they tried to do the same thing, and it did not work at all. You want to say something, Fanone?
I mean, listen, like, I do believe in buying American products, and I support trade.
But you're realistic. You understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the issue here is that, at this stage in the game, like you said, Michael, and I wish there were more people out there explaining it this way, because I've got a lot of working class friends, union guys and girls that are, up in arms about, the idea that we would prefer to buy products outside the U.S. There is not a American-made product for, alternative to each and every product that we buy from, let's just say, a country like China. And so in a lot of times there are not those options there. The other thing is, I wish more people would talk about how, countries like China are willing to exploit their workforce. They're willing to work their workers for 16, 18 hours a day in conditions that no American worker would step foot in this day and age. And that's how they cut costs. They pay their workers pennies on the dollar. And the idea that we would be able to bring those manufacturing facilities here in the U.S. and then have American, like these, in order for these products to be sellable on the U.S. market, we would be paying our fucking workforce the same thing that they'd be paying them in China,
Well,
10
Mike,
cents an hour.
Here's the thing. It's really the American people that are exploiting the Chinese workers because we're the ones that are buying the goods, and Americans like to buy cheap goods. It's just that simple. Meanwhile, while all of that's going on, people forget. Think about how much money still gets made off of bringing in these cheap goods. You have the distributors, you have the sellers, you have, the truckers, there's a lot of hands that touch each and every one of those items. You have employees that are stocking it, you have employees that are loading it, you have the drivers, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are touching, even though we don't specifically manufacture it. So people are making money off of those goods. Now that it has stopped, literally, China has said, fuck you. We're just not going to sell you any product. No problem. What happens to the people working in the warehouses? What happens to the people that are loading it onto the trucks? All union guys. What happens to the truckers, right, that are bringing it over to the Walmarts, where those people are then stocking it, putting it on shelves, labeling it, or the people that are selling it, and so on and so forth. There's so many hands that touch each item. We make money, believe it or not, off that. The United States makes money off of that through your taxes. This whole thing is a giant bullshit story created going back to the golden age into the 40s when, yes, America, or the 30s when America made shit. There's no product that I can think of that is solely 100% made in the United States, maybe except for those WeatherTech floor mats.
And Michael, you worked in one of those plants probably in the 30s, so you would have some experience to tell us what it was like in the 1930s. But I just, I'm kidding. I have a question for both of you. Okay, first to you, Fanone, and then to you, Michael Cohen. Michael Fanone, when you saw the mugshots of all of the people that they had, that they put, these lawn signs down on the, did you see that on the White House lawn? And you saw them. First of all, some of those people are probably bad people and they committed some of those things. Others, I don't know, because they have shown no proof that these people are either here illegally, undocumented, have committed crimes, have a criminal history, or part of the gang. They have shown none of that. But I was wondering where the mugshot, well, I guess it's in the Oval Office or whatever, they're proud of it. But why didn't they put his mugshot on the lawn? Because he is a convicted criminal, a convicted felon. So why didn't they put his out there? And why is he proud of his mugshot and not proud of the other mugshots? I'm just saying, you, a member of law enforcement, can you explain that to me?
Yeah, listen, there's Donald Trump doesn't have a monopoly on hypocrisy, but he is certainly he's owning that in this moment. Listen, how we were going to talk earlier about an article that came out in Rolling Stone where, they were acknowledging Trump's executive orders empowering American law enforcement. And one of the proposals was that he was going to stiffen the penalties for people that assault police officers.
How'd that work out?
Yeah, and then he just pardoned the people who assaulted you.
Right. Cumulatively, the people that assaulted me were sentenced to over 60 years in prison. And these include, guys like Kyle Young, who tried to pull my pistol out of its holster while I was being restrained and beaten and tased. It includes people like Daniel Rodriguez, who took it upon himself to drive a stun gun into my neck multiple times. And then, 100 days later, he's going to announce to American law enforcement that it's just, it's all bullshit. It's all hypocrisy, and it's all a spectacle. It's all made for television. Posting
TV.
these pictures of people on the White House lawn,
right behind the correspondents and the reporters, the networks.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That's my mugshot.
Right. You should get a T-shirt made.
By the way, there is. I'm very proud of my mugshot.
Well, I'm sure I'll be joining you soon in the mugshot
I'm
club.
very proud of it. In fact, I asked my wife after I saw Trump put it up outside the Oval Office. I asked her to have this one made into a big one. I want to put it in my dining room.
Yeah. No, but to touch on something else, Don, this thing with the mugshots and the deportations and all of this, behavior that's really just designed, for the spectacle, but also to instill fear. But the spectacle of it, Donald Trump controls, obviously the executive, but also Congress. Like, why don't you do something to reform our immigration system in this country in a meaningful way, rather than just rounding up people, sidestepping due process, putting them on a plane, and then sending them to this shithole in fucking
El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Yeah, true.
Look,
Michael Cohen. So
yeah.
my question is, so 2 days in a row, there've been like an early morning press briefing, right? And you've been there in the White House. You have more experience than all of us being inside of the White House and inside of this administration. I think it is because they're scared. His numbers are tanking. He's losing the trust and the support of the American people. And not only that, folks around the country, they today they woke up, I think, with a very harsh realization that they helped the Liberal Party in Canada win the race. And so I believe this is all to change the narrative, right? To get in front of the news cycle, to try to make it positive and spin it for the rest of the day. So they'll get the morning news briefing, then they'll do another briefing in the afternoon to try to control it there. And then they go on all the primetime shows or whatever, and they're going to try to control it there.
You're 50% right there. They do it first thing in the morning so that they control the media. They control the narrative up until Trump then has his next press meeting in the Oval Office.
The photo op.
And then, his photo op. Where you're not accurate is while Trump's numbers are dismal, he beat himself for having what they say is the worst 100 first days of any president ever. 55%. I couldn't believe it when I saw it on a CNN SSFR poll. 55% of Republicans.
SSRS, but that's okay.
And independent leaning Republicans have faith that Trump's term, his second term, is going to be successful. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, are there really that many disillusioned individuals that are out there? And the answer is yes, there are. 55%. I mean, let me be clear. He didn't get 50% of the vote. He got 49. He got 49 and change. Joe Biden just got like 48. A lot of people didn't vote. But my point is,
it wasn't a landslide like people believed.
It's 55% of these people think that he's doing or will do a good job. And I'm saying to myself, based off of what? Off of the ongoing continuous tariff wars, self-inflicted wounds? Are you talking about, the gun violence that we have to deal with in America? How about these disappearing or these deportations into these internment camps, not just in El Salvador. They also have one which nobody talks about in the Panamanian jungle. I mean, listen, I don't like the outside with those massive fucking horseflies and shit in Panama. This is out of control. It is an internment camp in the Panamanian jungle. This is just obscene. You have no policy. There is no program. Nobody knows how to deal with this. This woman and her children that were being deported. Next thing you know, the lawyer is on the phone with the State Department. They're turning around. They finally get her on. And when she turns around and she says something, when she turns around to say something to the husband, they automatically hang up the phone. And she hasn't heard yet from, he hasn't heard from her yet again. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. What country are we living in when people are so disillusioned to believe that things that are going on, the economy is tanking, inflation is a problem? There's not one metric that Trump ran on that he is above water. In fact, most of them are into the mid to high 30s. This is dismal, but people still think positively.
Yeah, people haven't been until it touches them in an adverse way.
It will.
I mean, it will. I agree with you 100%. But until it touches them in an adverse way, and like what we've experienced right now, I mean, it just, you've said this many times, Michael, litmus tests, watching Trump target certain communities that, let's just be frank here, most Americans don't give a shit about Venezuelan immigrants. It's just a fact. And so he's gonna, he'll see like, okay, what can what can I get away with before people start, really pushing back?
Yeah,
And
most
then,
people don't care about the Palestinians or Gazans.
right. And most people don't care about having Americans who've been convicted of crimes if we ship them off to some foreign prison.
Right.
They don't care until it ends up being like me and Michael Cohen and Don Lemon, because
It was me already.
Right.
It was me already.
But I mean, until he starts going after people for political purposes,
it was me. It was me. You want me to get the judge's decision? I wrote a book. And
I think more people than like
my First Amendment right. They jailed me because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right. We're seeing that happen now to judges.
But Michael, I think you should explain something because people won't necessarily know why. But the reason that you suffer the consequences that you did was not for anything in the White House or whatever. They found something else, right? That they said that you were involved in something with I think it was like taxis, or I forget exactly what it was, but that wasn't. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What they did is they went ahead and they charged me with tax evasion.
Right.
Mind you, like I said, there was an error in the tax. It was so minimal as far as I'm concerned. It was a higher number for some. I mean, and I explained, while I acknowledged that there was a mistake, I paid the tax. I never took $1 from anybody. I never received a letter from the IRS in my entire life. I've never filed a late tax return. I've never asked for an extension. I had a CPA who did my taxes, told me how much to pay. I gave him access to my bank account. He sent the money off to Uncle Sam. All of a sudden, they say, well, your numbers are wrong. I said, okay, if they're wrong and you're right and I'm wrong, tell me how much I owe. No, we're charging you with that. First time offender in my whole life. I've paid over $20 million in taxes in my lifetime. This total amount was $1.2 million over 6 years. Over 6 years. They only did that so that they can hammer me and try to use that as leverage to stop the campaign finance violation of me fighting it and so on, because they were going to, and they threatened to indict my wife. 48 hours is when I found out about all of this shit to when I had to plead guilty. On a Friday at 5:30 p.m., to a Monday. If I didn't plead guilty, they're filing an 80-page indictment that was going to include my wife. I said, you know what? I'll man up. I'll take that.
Yeah. I think that you're right that there is
There's a reason why I'm telling this story, Don.
But hang on 1 second. I'm going to let you finish. I think it's, hold on, Michael, give me a second.
But let me,
I think that you are
telling the story.
Okay, I'm going to let you do that. Hold on a second. I think that it is important that you're telling this story because it gives you an indication of what they will possibly and probably do with other Americans. And that's the point that Michael Fanone and I are trying to make. Go ahead, Michael Cohen.
That's the same point I was going to make, that Don, there's a couple of really great books out there. One is called 5 Felonies a Day. And so on, where basically it says everybody commits a felony a day, right? Imagine this administration now that holds all the power, they turn around and they say, Don Lemon, you did X, Y, and Z wrong. You turn around and you're like, you're right, but it wasn't done with intent. I didn't. And they said, does it make a difference? You either go ahead and you plead guilty, or we're filing an 80-page indictment that includes Tim. Right? Or they do it to Michael, or they do it to your mom, and then so on. The point is, there is no hole deep enough that they will not go into in order to bring somebody down, especially when they control all of the levers of government. That's
Right.
the
Yeah,
point I was making.
I think that's an exceptional point too, Don, is the fact that, Donald Trump controls the Department of Justice.
Yep.
He controls the prosecutors in the Department of Justice. And we've already seen countless examples in which frontline prosecutors who say, no, there's not enough probable cause to pursue an investigation or pursue criminal charges into this matter. Okay, you're fired. Who's next?
Right.
Until they find somebody that's willing to rubber stamp it. And then, the idea using law enforcement agencies. I mean, we've already seen him weaponize law enforcement agencies against American citizens, against, excuse me, against immigrants in this country. There's no bottom to what Trump and this administration are willing to do to punish those who oppose his viewpoints.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree, Michael. And I think that obviously you were a test case. I think there were probably others similar to you during the first administration. I think there are going to be others now, obviously. But I think there's even, as awful as what happened to you, Michael, I think they're now even more of a power trip and more of a revenge trip than they were even with you. Now they want to get back at everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Think about what they're going to try to do to Tish James, to Alvin Bragg, to all of the prosecutors that were involved there, to Jack Smith, to Fannie Willis. I mean, he's going to go after everybody because that's what Donald Trump does. That's what he's always done. That's what he was taught by Roy Cohen to do. When somebody pushes you, you punch. If they punch you, you hit them 10 times. And that's what he was taught, and that's what he's going to do. It is ingrained into his soul, and he is going to punch back. And here's my unfortunate prediction. With the administration and the sycophants that he has, he is going to succeed. And, this is a real problem for all Americans. From day one, when I was unconstitutionally remanded, I have been yelling from the rooftops, warnings. If they can do it to me, Don, I did it on your show. I've been with you 100 times. What they did to me, they will do to you. Remember that. And then everybody was like, oh, fuck Cohen, he worked for Trump, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? Now you're going to understand exactly how little you really have justice in this country. We are a country of laws with no justice. And Michael Fanone and what they did to you is proof positive of that adage.
Well, let me just say this. Two things. One is that Scott Santana says, Don, the three of you should be a regular feature. This is a great conversation. A couple of people have said that, except we would have to figure out how we can get Michael not to be so shy, Michael Cohen, to and like ready to like say something. We have to give him more confidence that he should actually say something during these things. So, so I'm not, because he's really shy and demure. I forgot. I wanted to ask a question. I can't remember what the hell it was now. Michael, shit. You mentioned something that I thought was very important that I wanted to follow up on. It'll come back to me, maybe. I'm an old man now and lose my memory. I can't remember.
Lay off the liquor.
Okay. It's actually ginger ale, but I need more stuff now.
We're in a real constitutional crises. I wrote in my Substack the other day where I was talking about, I remember growing up as a kid, remembering America good, Russia bad. Somewhere along the line, believe it or not, Vladimir Putin, his favorability right now in America by Americans is actually greater than the favorability of our president. If that
Michael Fanone, do you
tells
see that?
something.
Do you see what Paula said, Michael Fanone?
What's that?
Michael F. should run for Congress.
No.
No way.
I
No
mean,
way.
Listen,
I wanted to run for
I-
Congress. I was going to run against Jerry Nadler.
Yeah, what happened?
My family said, not happening. We are not going to support you in this, and we'll support you in anything and everything that you do, but not this. We'll not do it because it is so ugly out there. And I have my two kids and my wife. They're like, you have any idea how hard it is? Michael Fanone can actually tell you what they do to him. They've been doing to me now for over 5 years, literally since 2018. Where people feel like they have the right to approach you in the street.
Yeah. I remember what I wanted to say, and then hold on, Michael Fanone. By the way, smash the hearts, right? Michael Cohen, smash the hearts. It affects the algorithm. Jamie in Michigan says, how about President Michael Fanone? I mean, that would be great, but then you'd have to go through that freaking process, and that is a.
I don't think I'll be honest. I appreciate stuff like that, but the American people don't want me anywhere near the levers of power in this country. I mean, you think Trump is like vindictive, and I live to hold these individuals accountable, and that would be the only thing that I could focus on. And so, I in all seriousness, because I've thought about it a couple times, but it's like, the Democratic establishment despises me almost as much as I think the Republican establishment does. And so there's really no place for me to occupy.
And what did you do? What did you do other than your job and protect the same people who disparage you and who behave like fucking cowards? Sure, right? I mean, at some point in time, I get the same shit, where there's a whole slew, not all, but many of the Democrats, they don't like me because of my past affiliation to Trump. Republicans hate me because of my testifying and my providing truth to power. And so you ultimately, like yourself, become a person without a country or a person without a party. And it's terror. It's absolutely terrible. Now, things have changed a little bit for me on that front. But when you have people who feel like they can come and approach you while you're with your family and shit, and curse you out and throw shit at you. I had an asshole throw a fucking Snapple bottle at me, literally on Madison Avenue. Not a joke.
Yeah.
Not a joke.
No, I'll
listen,
laugh because it's like, I'll laugh.
We've got a mental telepathy thing going because Michael, right? We're thinking the same thing. Like, man, this guy can talk. He's fired up today.
Way, it's not a joke. Fucking Snapple is like $6.50.
Yeah, so it's only a fucking glass bottle too, man.
That's messed up. Michael, let me ask you about this. Well, one thing first to Michael Fanone, then I'll ask Michael Cohen a question. Michael Fanone, he said, "What did you do?" And I thought that, okay, folks they're like, okay, you talked about the Trump administration, that would be over, right? They thought that you weren't MAGA. You should have been MAGA since you were a police officer. But you also told the truth about the police department. You exposed some things, and your own, I believe, comrades, they came out against you. I think you're persona non grata for many police officers or police forces around the country. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge part of it. First off, just full transparency, I didn't have a whole lot of friends when I was a fucking police officer, even when I was like, doing what the police department, or what my, so-called comrades would have liked me to been doing and saying prior to January 6th. I'm a very difficult person to get along with. You know this, Don.
Yes.
But
Don knows better what it's like.
Right.
Don was in high school. Don was the president of the Friend of the Friendless Club.
But then I mean, you're right. You know, I aired a lot of dirty. I think I aired a lot of dirty laundry and I'll tell you what my motivation there was like. You know, I was a cop for 20 years, and we were at a point in, you know, say 2015 when, you know, we were starting to address incidents involving communities of color and police officers in a way that it was really the first time that we had done this at such a national level in my career. And so I felt like these conversations we were having were not productive. And I honestly, I mean, I thought there was blame to be held by both sides of these conversations, but all I could speak to was law enforcement. And I felt that law enforcement was not being honest and they were not being transparent. And the only way for us to find a real solution to these issues was if somebody was willing to, you know, have the courage to come forward and say, no, like I was a cop. I was a working cop. I worked in narcotics. I was a door kicker for 20 years. I loved the job. I was, you know, an enthusiastic participant for 2 decades. And this is what my real experience, my lived experience was, good, bad, ugly, whatever. But I'm going to put it all out there in the hopes that, you know, maybe we can accomplish some of these reforms that are so dearly needed in, you know, in American law enforcement. And, you know, I got a lot of detractors because of that.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to plug my phone and I was running out of juice because Michael Cohen has just been running his mouth for so long. So, Michael Cohen, I want to ask you, I think it's a very important question. I'm glad you brought it up.
Don't egg him on. Right.
I took my microphone out. Is the audio okay still?
Yeah, you sound great. It'd be
Okay,
better
great.
if you were on mute, but that's besides the point.
Okay. Well, I have a way to mute all of us, and that would be end this. By the way, Michael, I'm glad you brought it up because some people are like, you know, why Michael Cohen? What is whatever? Blah 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 blah. You know, you helped him. I hear that a lot. Why are you friendly with Michael Cohen? He's responsible for the place that we're in right now. He wrote the check. You've heard all those things. What do you say to that?
Well, I say fuck you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Go fuck yourself. You have no idea what you're talking. I worked for a man as the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, which is a real estate branding company. Yeah, there was a time that I believed that Donald Trump would have made a good president. I never expected him to be the worst version of himself imaginable. Never. I'm not the one that elected him. 75.7 million people voted for him. So yes, I worked there. And the stories that you read about me and so on, oh my God, he fixed a CNBC poll. Big shit, right? What does that have to do with you? Oh my God, he fought with contractors. So what? When Don was building his house out in the Hamptons, he fought with contractors too. Everybody fights with contractors, right? Contractors fuck you, you fuck them back over. That's the nature of the game. So stop spewing the shit and trying to put, because you can't put that shit onto Trump. So instead, you decide to put it on me. And then everybody's always saying, oh my God, you know more, you could bury Trump. Do you understand? I testified to 7 congressional committees for 9 hours at a clip. I testified before 2 grand juries and 2 trials. Do you think that every question has been asked of me? Do you think that there's any question that members of Congress on both sides of the aisle did not ask me? So when they want to turn and say, oh, why are you talking to Michael Cohen and so on? Because I know more about Donald Trump than just about everybody combined. And if there's a way to defeat him in 2026 for the midterms, and then again in 2028, assuming hypothetically that the guy ends up deciding to run again, which I think he will try, I'm the
I
guy
heard that
who will
he's
be
not
able to
going to,
figure out
but
how to do it.
I've heard that he's not going to, that he's telling people privately he's not going to, but I don't know. I don't know if I trust that.
I
I
don't.
don't think he wants to leave office. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
anyway, Michael Fanone, can we deal with a third Trump term?
I would like to say that there would be, riots in the streets and just like massive
No.
protests and all, but I don't believe that for 1 second. I think Americans would just fucking take it.
They would, right? Wouldn't they cheer it on and say, yeah, Donald's sticking it. He's sticking it to the Constitution and he's sticking it to the government. And so why they want to destroy the Constitution? Imagine 250 years ago, our founding fathers sat in a Philadelphia sweat room, right? Where it was hot, ink all over their fingers, talking about how to create this incredible document that would be ever evolving as we matured as a country. And nobody ever thought about, hey, you know what we should do? We should try to find some loopholes in this contract, right? And we should try to fuck it up and destroy it. And then while we're doing that, let's see if we can't just do what the founding fathers feared the most, which is that they would be a president who wanted to wear the crown, right? Does any of this make sense to anybody? But this is how people are behaving.
But even so, like whatever your interpretation, I mean, listen, I've got an idealistic viewpoint of what the founding fathers intended for this country as well. That being said, fuck them. They're all dead. I've got to live in America now. My children have to live in America now. And is this the kind of country that I want to leave for them? And no, it's not. And I don't really care what the intention of, a bunch of guys that have been dead for 300 years. I care about what's right, and I care about what's humane, and I care about governing with compassion and empathy, not governing with cruelty and fear and violence. And so, that's what we're fighting against in this moment. And quite frankly, Mike, people tell me things, oh, you voted for him in 2016, so you deserve everything that you got. Okay, get the fuck out of my way while I fight to secure democracy in this country. And the only thing that you can do is criticize me for having voted for Trump in 2016. I have no time for that. Go fuck off.
I think that adds more credibility to both of you, but go on.
Yeah, and at the same time, I mean, there's people that are my detractors because I was a cop for 20 years. As if they didn't get the memo that the defund the police thing didn't work out. But all of that criticism and all those things being said, like I'm doing something here. I've got a job to do. Michael, you're doing something. You've got a job to do. Don, you're doing something. You've got a job to do. All that other shit is just noise. I don't have to defend myself to any of these people. And that's how I feel.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. Man, I've never seen anything. Put yourself into somebody else's shoes for 1 minute. Don't even do it for 1 minute. How about sit for 51 days in solitary confinement, being literally abused 24/7 in a hot box, right? I mean, with 3 days no food, forget it. It was disgusting what they do to you. But worse than that, imagine 63 hours of testimony before Congress. Imagine having to be subpoenaed, which I was for every one of them, including 2 grand jury as well as 2 trials, right? Constantly being attacked. So they want to now turn around and say, well, why would you speak with Michael Cohen? Well, let me say, I'm trying to do the right thing. I am on my own journey, as is Michael Fanone, right? We're on our own journey to handle, to handle things the way that we believe need to be handled.
Well, guys, we've gone on.
You
Go
can't
ahead.
keep pushing the heart, Mike. You're cheating. That's cheating. You got to let the other people push the heart.
I'm not touching the heart. I got a phone call from
Michael does it. It's the only heart Michael Cohen has is the one on the screen. And Michael, I can't believe that you were in solitary for you not to be able to talk to someone. Oh, that must have been the thing that like almost drove you batty. because we know how you like to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, all right, I think we should make this a regular thing. I think we should start, we'll do a thing with us. Maybe we just keep it rolling on like this. So we'll try it. I hope the app is back working because it screwed Michael Fanone and I earlier. And
Well,
even
that's
on
why
our,
I'm glad you brought him up.
yeah, I'm glad. Okay, so make sure you
Yes.
join us. Michael Fanone and I will tell you when we have the um Don Fanonius report or whatever we're going to call it.
Right.
The I was trying to come up with felony, Fanonely or something. Fanonely. Okay, so or lemon. We'll do that, and then Michael and I are here. Michael Cohen and I are here every Tuesday at 3:00. But this was an extra spectacular special one that I really enjoyed, both of you. Okay, so let's keep this up. And I saw someone in the chat who said, "I just upgraded to paid. We need to support Don Lemon." But I would say that goes to everybody who's up here on the screen. That you need to support all of the folks who are out here risking their lives. Michael, I believe, is risking his life, reputations, livelihoods, and all of that just to speak the truth in this environment where people are afraid, especially in corporate media. So support us independent folks, okay? So go subscribe to Michael Fanone, subscribe to Michael Cohen, and me as well. And then we will see you next time here on the Lemon Cohen Report and elsewhere. Gents, I'll see you later, okay?
Later, pal. Mike.
I love you both. Talk to you later.
Good to see you, buddy. Thanks, Don.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.